Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Mohammad Tanvir Mahatab. I'm one of your lab faculties, and in this video we're gonna watch how you can create different shapes by using Webots. So in the previous video we have seen that how you can add shapes like floors or chairs in your project, but over here we're gonna watch how you can actually build those shapes from scratch. So to show you an example, let's say we want to build a certain object like a floor. So for that, the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to this object addition sign where you can add new object, and let's go to base nodes and add a shape to it. So over here we have got a shape, and since we are trying to make a floor, let's rename it to floor so that later on we can easily distinguish it. So first of all, let's give it an object. We have got a shape, but we haven't gotten an object. So let's say we give it a box, but as you can see the box is not clearly visible, so we need to give it a material. So go to appearance, go to base nodes, click on appearance and add appearance, and click on the drop down of appearance, go to material and click on material and add this material to it. So as you can see, we can easily this box has a material, but we cannot view this. But before viewing this box, let's change the shape of this box so that it actually resembles a floor. So let's say we give x5, y is 0.1, it's alright, and give z5. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, it looks like a floor, I think. Now to view this floor, we need to add a light to it. So for that, let's say we add a directional light. So from base nodes, we're selecting directional light, and yeah, this is the typical color of our floor. It's got a gray color to it. So we're successful making a floor, but there are some problems. One of the main problems is that if we place a robot on this floor, it will easily fall off because there are no walls. So now let's see how we can add a wall to this floor. So for that, we can obviously go to plus sign and add a shape and change the appearance, but we will not go through all those rigmaroles, but rather we'll just copy this floor shape and just paste it, and I'll just rename it to walls so it's easier to understand. So yeah, so let's go inside this wall shape, and as you can see, the appearance and the materials have already been changed because we have copied those information from the floor shape. The only changes that needs to be made are in the size and in the color. So let's go to size, see if we have got the floor that we have wall that we've created. It has got the same dimensions as the floor, so they're overlapping. So now let's change the size of y. Let's give it 0.3, and let's give z a size of 0.1. let's see. Yeah, we have got our wall right over here. So you can change these values and to actually view your wall. I'll just give it a color so that it can be distinguishable easily. So let's give it a red color. I know it doesn't look nice, but just for the sake of it, you know. So now there's another problem that we can see over here is first of all we want to rotate this or transform this wall into these 4 sides. We need 3 more walls for that. We can easily copy paste and get more walls, and we can just change this location of these walls, but that's not possible, mainly because the problem arises that we haven't defined any way of offsetting the shape. Previously we have seen that we used to get a widget for any object, and we can shift here and there, but since we are building it from scratch, we need to add a sort of widget to transform it. But to do that, we cannot do this inside this wall shape. We need to add another way of doing it. We need to add a transform object. So go to base nodes and select transform. So what transform does is, inside transform there is this folder called children. So inside this children, any sort of object that you add, you can easily rotate or translate those objects in this 3D space. So as you can see, I'm translating the certain object, but since there are no objects, we haven't defined any object in this children folder, so we cannot see anything. Now as we are trying to build a wall, I will just rename transform into wall 1, And in children, just like before, I will just add a shape, go to base nodes, go to shape, we'll add the shape, and the procedure is just like before, all the same steps that we followed before. So I'll just do it a bit more, do it quickly. I'll add a shape, and now let's see. Now it's time to add a geometry, so we need to add a box. All right, now we cannot view the box. Let's see how we can change the size of the box. I think we had x5, y was somewhat like this, I think 0.2. Yeah, we can view it, so let's pull it a bit upwards, bit more. Let's give it a 0.5 value. Okay, so we can view this wall. So now let's give it a different color. So let's go to wall 1. Okay, where was it? Okay, so now you can see if you click on wall transform 1, you can easily change the direction and also the rotate it around the axis, so we can maneuver it around. So as you can see, I can easily place it right on the edge right over here. So I'll just pull this up. Yeah, I think it more or less looks fine. So let's go inside and let's go in children, let's go in appearance and diffuse color. I think I'll give it a green color. Looks better than having red, doesn't it? Yeah. So now we need to add 3 more walls, and for that you can guess that, yeah, we can copy and paste this. Let's change it to wall 2 and just drag it to this other side. Let's see whether we're placing it correctly or not. Yeah, I think we placed it just fine. Just copy and paste another wall. Let's rename it to wall 3. What the problem is, we need to rotate it by exactly 90 degrees, so around the y-axis. So you can calculate the degree in radians. So I think it's fine, and we'll just place it right on this edge. So let's click on this and try to place it just fine. Okay, so now let's create our last wall. So we'll rename it to wall 4, and obviously just we can place it right over here. And lastly, as you have created this wall, the red one, it's not needed, so we can create a wall shape and press delete from your keyboard, and we deleted that. And as you can see, we have created this floor with this walls, and for the sake of it, we can add a color to this floor just so that it looks better. To diffuse colors, let's give it a brown color. Okay, this is our floor and this is our wall. These are our walls. So if you add a robot, it will be bounded by these walls and it will never fall off. So that's how we can create an object using Webots. So now in the next part, let's see how you can create objects like different sort of objects and place it on top of this floor. So we are done making these walls and stuff. We have got a directional light, but we need to add more objects. So for that, let's go to this plus sign, click on this plus sign, base nodes, and since we need to add a shape, let's click on shape. So let's add a cylinder, but here's the problem. The problem is that if we add a shape in this way, then we wouldn't be able to transform this. So obviously what we need to do is we need to go to plus and we have to select transform, and inside transform, in this children part, then we need to add the shape. So whenever you need to translate anything, just add transform and then try to select the necessary shapes that need to add. So obviously if you want to add a cylinder, I'll just rename the transform to cylinder, and from the shapes I'll just give it an appearance first, and then I'll do the necessary parts. So from shapes, go to material, and we add the material. Okay, we're done selecting the appearance, and now in the geometry, Let's see if we do have a cylinder. Yes, we have a cylinder. It's right over there. So for that we need to change obviously the dimensions of it. So where can we find it? Go inside children. We have got the shape, we have got a cylinder. Go inside cylinder. Let's see, we have got a height and we have got a radius. Let's try changing the height and see if anything happens. Sorry. Okay, now it's visible a bit. Let's change it a bit more and increase the radius to 0.9, or let's say 0.1. all right, so if we click on the cylinder, as you can see, we can easily, oh, that's, I think it was right under the floor, so you can view all of it. So how we can make sure that it is touching the base of the floor? When you move around the y-axis, look at the value. If it's 0.00, then it's right on touching the base of the floor. So now we have added a cylinder in the middle of the floor. So we can change the color of this by going in appearance, and then we can select the text for material. You go to diffuse color, and then let's say we give a yellow color to it. Next we can add one more shape. So let's copy this cylinder object and copy and paste this over here, and I'll just rename it to sphere. So over here, let's say we need to change the geometry of this part. So go to children, go to shape, and over here the appearance is all right, but I need to change it from a cylinder to a sphere. So just delete it and then add again. Then go to sphere. If you have sphere, yeah, we have got a sphere option of a sphere. So from there we can just translate it. So go to shapes, and we have got a radius. So let's change to change the radius of the sphere. So as it's on top of it, so our cylinder got overlapped. So now we just try to move it on the side. So we have got a shape over here, our sphere over here, right on this side, and let's see if it's touching the base or not. So yeah, it's fine. So now there's one more problem that we might encounter and we need to fix, is that as you can see, the sphere is the sides are very rough. Now how you can fix that? Now for that, let's go to sphere, let's go to the shape, and let's see if we can find that or not. Yeah, subdivision. So what it does is, if you increase the value, it actually smoothens the outer edges. So if you give a value of 2, see, it actually smoothens it further. Now for a sphere, the values, I think it ranges from 0 to 1 to 5. So 5 means it's the sides are smoothed to the most extreme. Now we can obviously do the same thing for this sphere, this cylinder as well. So if we go down and if we search for subdivisions, is 36, and let's give it 24. Now why? Because the more subdivisions you add, the more rendering power it will take from your computer. So if it looks alright from this angle, then it's fine. Do not give a lot of subdivisions, otherwise it will take a lot of time to render. So now let's add one last shape. Let's add a cone. Now we can copy this and paste this, and we can change it to a cone. And we can go to this children, and over here inside shapes, we can, the appearance is already there. We can delete the cylinder and we can click on it and add, and let's see whether we have a cone or not. Yes, we have a cone, but we cannot see it because it's not visible. We can change the height of it to 0.5, and let's see if we've got a radius. Yeah, radius, let's give it 0.09, and we have the cone is right over here. So let's see, it's right over here. We have got our cone over here. So we can change so we just gonna place it right over here so that it's touching the base of the floor. So let's increase the radius a little bit more. Let's give it 0.1, and we can change the color of this thing by going to appearance, material, and diffuse color, and let's see, let's give it a pink color. I don't know, it looks pretty not that good, but it's fine, I guess. So this is our cone, and okay, let's see and try to give it a little bit down. Okay, so we can obviously change the direction of the lights to easily understand the uh, shadows that has been uh, on the floor, so you can easily understand the specific location of the objects. So for that, the first thing to do is you need to do click on the cast shadow to true, and let's change the directional lights. So 0, let's give it minus 1.4, and let's change it to minus 0.04. I think it's much better because we have changed the location of the directional light to somewhat in this position in the z-axis. So you can easily see this. Let's click on the cylinder first, and let's give it over here, then change the direction of the cone. Yep. And then finally the sphere. So yeah, you can easily see the shades of the shadows to understand whether they're touching or not. So I think we have been able to easily add 3 more objects inside our floor, including the wall that we have made. So now in the next part, we're going to see how we can add a certain object, and where we can add a lot of object inside this transform, or inside this children folder. We have add only one shape, but next we're gonna see how we're gonna add multiple shapes inside that children folder. So as I've said before, that now we're gonna see that how you can add composite or multiple objects under the same transformation. So that means under the same children folder, how you can have multiple shapes. So if you want to create objects by creating 2 different shapes, then how you can maneuver those 2 things at the same time. So for that thing, the first thing that you need to do is you need to add a transform. So go to base nodes, add transform over here. So let's name it a let's name it wheel. So that means we're trying to create a wheel. So we are trying to make something that contains 2 cylinders incorporating of each other. So for that, if you select on this wheel, we can easily maneuver it and we can move around. But there will be 2 objects, that means 2 shapes that consist of each other, and obviously we need to keep take into account the relative displacement of one of those 2 objects. So the displacement of 2 or more objects that we will include, those will be different. So we need to keep an account for that. And to maneuver those objects independently, what we can do is we can add more objects inside this children, but before adding any shapes, we need to add transform inside this shape for each of those objects. So let's go to transform, and let's add a transform. And since let's say we want to add a cylinder, okay, let's go to children inside this transform, and let's add a shape. And from that shape we can go and add a geometry shape to it, which will be a cylinder. Okay, now let's change a height and the radius of the cylinder. Let's give it a radius of 0.15. Let's see how it looks like, because okay, so I'll just click on this transform because this is the main cylinder. Okay, I'll just increase the radius a little bit and also the height. Let's give it a height of 0.2 and a radius of let's say 0.20. Okay, and I'll just give it change the appearance. I mean, I'll just add the material and everything that we have done previously, because it's not there are no materials in this cylinder. So let's add a material. Okay, let's also add a certain distinctive color to it. So let's go to diffuse colors, let's click on this, and let's give it a color, a blue color. So we're going to click on this transform, and it'll just separate it right on this part. And as I've said, that I want to include another cylinder, and both of the cylinders will act as a single object. Now for that, we are in this main parent folder, which is wheel transform, and inside there is a folder called children. I've already added a transform. I'd say wheel 1 over here, and I want to add another pipe or whatever a differential that you say inside a car. I will just name it wheel 2. So I'll copy this and paste this inside this children folder, and I will name it wheel 2. I'll not be making it explicitly because I've already made some changes. I'll add materials, so it'll just be waste of time. So I'll go inside children of this transform, and see I've got a shape and shape of a cylinder. I will just change the geometry of it, maybe change the height. I'll increase its height, let's say to 0.5, and decrease the radius to 0.01. Okay, I'll just increase it a little bit, or let's say 0.05. Yeah, doesn't look that bad. Okay, I'll click on this children and I'll just place it right up there. Okay, so as you can, I'm not really uh, trying to emphasize on whether it's touching the ground or not, because our main goal is to create a composite object. So if you click on the parent transform, which is wheel transform, we can see, which is gonna be this, you can easily maneuver the entire object at the same time. We can translate, rotate everything, both of them at the same time. And also if you go inside, children, we have got two wheels, the two parts. We have got this first part, which we can easily move around, and also we have got this part as well, which we can move around as well. But if we want to move it as a whole object, we can do this by using this entire parent item. So this is the composite item and how you can create shapes. That was all from this video. Thank you very much.